want to switch gears and go on to a powerful talk, a power talk with Dr. Nyakan Munyeki, CEO and founder of Timeless Women of Wonder organization. She is an international consultant, a professional strategist, strong negotiator, partnerships developer, business process re-engineer, and transformational change expert. Ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Nyakan Munyeki.
Thank you so much. It's good to see all of you. Good day wherever you are. It's a beautiful and powerful day for us. I'm so honored to have an opportunity to give a power talk, because I think power is a good word. You know, I hope that all of us during this couple of days that we are engaging in this Women's Economic Forum, I hope we will leave inspired. And I hope we're not just talking to women, because the matter and subject of women is not just about, you know, a thing that's isolated. I think it's something that the entire spectrum of society needs to be engaged with. Today, we're looking at the role of women in economic and social transformation post-COVID. Now, when I'm looking at post-COVID, COVID has become such a buzz in the world. It's been so magnified, more than I think it should. You know, a lot of people I meet are saying, how do we recover? How do we recover post-COVID? And it's true. I mean, that's something that we need to talk about and look at, especially when people look at the various impacts, the health impact. You know, people lost their lives. You know, people were challenged health-wise. People became more conscious of their health, right? But economically, the whole world globally was hit. And there was a grave effect that had a triple, and ripple effect throughout the world, because we are interconnected. And I think during these 2 years and some months where we've been experiencing this global pandemic of COVID-19, we have come to be more aware at how interlinked and interconnected we are as a world. Because people are trading, between continents, between countries, between counties. We are working for local, national, continental, international institutions. And the effects, of everything, concerning our livelihoods was affected in one way or another, because we're interconnected. But rather than focus on how do we recover, because recover always puts our minds to be looking at what is in the past, what's gone. How about we look at the opportunities and look at that whole experience as something that has allowed us to look at things anew. I personally felt that 2020 was a global reset, and I chose to look at it from a perspective of all of us being given a new slate, a fresh new canvas to write our stories. And when you're looking at the role of women in actually transforming our country, Kenya, socially and economically. And I know our audience could be listening to us from even outside of Kenya, and the subject remains relevant. Let us look and see how to look at the glass half full rather than half empty, and how to make lemonade out of the lemons, right? I want us to look and see what opportunities have presented themselves, especially economically, that can be able to help us to tackle a lot of our social challenges, health challenges, environmental challenges that we're looking at. I think that we should also not be looking at one aspect of challenge in the absence of many other things that we need to be taking note of and paying attention to, that could actually slip our minds in this time, and that could actually have even worse effects on our economics and our social statuses as we move along. And for me, that's an area of environment. Let us also look at our health. I think all of us since 2020, whether we were conscious or not, we have a clearer awareness and a clearer intentionality around the area of health. And if you haven't started to look at that, I think it's time to actually look at that and pay more attention. For me, I got to see how fleeting life could be. But thankfully, it wasn't rocking me so much, because I had a time in my life in 2004 when I was challenged health-wise, and I was given almost 5 months to leave, and I lived through that episode. So I began to live intentionally from that time. But I'm sure for a lot of us, the whole COVID situation, beyond the economics, did actually make us look at life in a whole new way. So I think that, as we're talking about social and economic transformation, a lot of people worry a lot about the economics, their money, their livelihood, which is very important. I think let's start in the base. Let's begin to be intentional about taking care of our health. And I think that mental health is something that we should not ignore. A lot of people were going through a lot of mental anguish, anxiety, and trauma, and they had no help, because mental health, especially in this part of the world, Kenya and Africa, is not a thing that people pay attention to, or even things that people are happy to talk about, but it's real. So begin to take care of your life, self-care, activities that put your mind in a healthy space, because you need your mind to be sane to move and succeed. You need your overall health. Let's move into preventive health. What's your way of life, of living, before you start to focus so much on your economics? What's your spiritual, life looking like? What is your spiritual posture? How healthy is your spirit? Because when you look at the things that come at us and the kind of resilience we need to build, we need to be looking at our internal environment, because that, when it's stable and strong, then we're able to go out and tackle all the things that come at us, right? So our mental health, our spiritual health, and the health of our body, I'd like us to just pay attention to those, even as we begin to talk about all these great big things that we need to talk about in these 2 days. Now, the other thing I want us to pay attention before I start to share some of my insights on how women can engage in the socioeconomic transformation of Kenya, I'd like us to look at the role of our environment. I would like a day when everybody on earth is so conscious about how the environment is looking and what they're doing to replenish that environment. The mandate that we were given by God, by the way, was to take dominion, okay? Have dominion over every aspect of our lives. Be able to multiply. So everything that comes into our hands, women, our children, our families, the people we work with, our environments, do we leave them a better, more inspired environment, in which case we are multiplying, or are we leaving them less? Are we replenishing the things around us? Are we looking at how my garden, my road, my environment, the air around me is getting better day by day, or am I a participant in degrading the environment? Because we're going to need it tomorrow. And guess what? If the environment stops to cooperate with us, however many great strategies we have to build wealth will not happen. But now I want us to look at the higher picture, okay? We're talking about the role that women play, okay, in Kenya's socioeconomic transformation. I think that women are wired in such a beautiful and unique way that they're already positioned to thrive and to sustain. When you look at the kind of hardship, I've talked to people outside of the continent of Africa, and when they ask me, give us one word that will describe an African woman, just one word. And I think of the so many beautiful words that I have for an African woman. But the one thing that stands out to me, and I'm sure it will stand out to you, is the word resilience. The way women can make things out of nothing. I have seen women whose husbands have died in Africa, in Kenya, in our communities, and left them with 10 children, 6 children, 5 children. They don't have anything. They don't know where the next plate will come from, the next food. But guess what? Somehow, a way comes. She's able to think of a way. And that's on the most basic level. How much more women can we do with what has been given to us? How much more can we deliver when we are, in an environment that is more conscious than our grandparents in terms of empowerment, putting things on the table to help empower us? When I think about the efforts that have been made by the government of Kenya, the commitments that they have made to ensure that the subject of women empowerment, and not just women empowerment, women economic empowerment, the kind of efforts that have been made really set Kenya apart. And so I'm surprised at all why Kenya is not at the top of its game as far as women's participation and active participation in the economy. I know, yes, we could start saying, but the politicians, the legislators have refused to pass the 2/3 gender rule, so we don't have representation, our voices are muzzled, and all that stuff. Those could be true, and that's a work in progress. However, what are the things that we have on the table that could be working for us? We have the 30% Public Procurement Act and AGPO there, with money, budget set aside for us to uptake. But we see these things as a huge effort. I think when you think of tendering, I think a lot of us, I'm sure women, you get a headache. Yet men don't even wait. They go and tackle it. They'll find out ahead. Why don't you just go and find out ahead? Take up the opportunity. Take the step. Be bold. Move. So we're saying, we're waiting for the 2/3 gender rule, 2/3 gender law to be passed so that we can participate in our political or leadership platforms. Have you presented yourself? Have you actually applied, taken the initiative and looked at an organization that you want to work for, that you feel you can influence, and say, I hereby submit my application to sit in your board? Give me a consideration. Have you taken that, or are you waiting for it to come to your bedroom? Okay? Have you decided, because we're in an environment where, we have, societies that have given room for women to add value, for women to speak, for women to offer value, in economic discussions, decision-making discussions, leadership platforms. But let's not just wait for things to land on our doorsteps. Let's go for it. Let's not be whining and saying, before COVID, there's all these stories of before COVID and during COVID. Let's move forward. I feel like, the slate was cleaned, like I said. You see, pre-COVID, it was clear that there were certain big players in the markets, right? There were certain, for example, supermarkets that were the go-to supermarkets. We used to drive to supermarkets. If you were thinking of putting up a supermarket, you were like, that's a big field to go into. You've got a lot of marketing budget to get behind you so that you can be able to compete. If you're looking at any big platform, it was very hard to penetrate the market. But guess what? During COVID, people stopped caring about brands. They stopped caring about where I'm going. They started to look at solutions and convenience. Safety. Can you come to my doorstep? Can you deliver to my doorstep? And when the answer is yes, it didn't matter whether it's Carrefour delivering or Nyakan delivering. Can you bring me my soap, my food, my milk, my bread to my doorstep? And that opened up a whole new avenue for innovation and new product offering. What do you have that you can do from where you are? Guess what? COVID, if you look at it as a good thing that happened, because it cleaned the canvas for all of us, then you know that you can become a player that didn't exist before and actually penetrate the market. What do you have in your hand that you can offer? Because the mindset of people, just based on COVID realities, was actually transformed. People stopped being rigid and they became more accepting of solutions and convenience and platforms and new brands. As long as it was meeting the quality and it was meeting convenience. You're looking at the customer's needs. What can you be able to do? Women, and I'm talking about women at all levels. Women at at top leadership positions, women who are sitting in their homes as housewives, women who are asking themselves, what am I going to do to move forward? You have something inside of you that you can actually do. When you look at all the commitments our Kenya government has put forward, all right? We have all these affirmative action funds, the women enterprise funds. Yeah, there's ranges and they keep increasing the limits. It starts from 50,000 Kenya shillings all the way to a few millions. Have any of you sat in a group of 10 and said, let's go access that money and do something? I am challenging women to make a difference from today. Don't wait for the things to come into your house. Don't be so glued to TV, supporting all the challenges that we still have. But can you take what is already on the table and move? Look, our government has even looked at the challenges that we have been bringing up, the things that women have said are stopping them from being productive in the labor market or in the economy. And what have they done? They've even looked at establishing platforms and institutions like the FGM board to fight these harmful cultural practices. It exists. We have, a full, gender policy in play. We are having commitments. Kenya at the forefront of member states in the continent, leading on protecting women against gender-based violence and leading on commitments to end gender-based violence by 2026. Now, while the government is putting in place structures and all that, are you going to remain dwelling and complaining about what you're having, or are you also going to take your part and begin to uptake? It cannot be creating for you, solutions and then also expecting the solution to be given to you in your bed. Let's make a decision today. This is the Women Economic Forum. We're here to inspire each other, to learn, share ideas from each other, and to move into action. Let's not let all these great ideas that we're getting here, be left here on the table and check boxes and say we met and we had great things and everything. Let us take these ideas, be inspired, and move into action. I look forward to a day that people say, because I was online and I participated at the Women Economic Forum, I learned this, I took this, I did this. And I'm looking forward to the next opportunity to interconnect with people. Look at linkages. We're talking about financial instruments, and market linkages, right? This is already a market linkage, because just on this forum, there are going to be people, if you dare to chat and talk, can bring visibility to you, or you can bring visibility to yourself through these interactions that we're having over these 2 days, right? When you're looking at the role of market linkages, we need voices of women, because nobody can create the solution better than the one who needs a solution. Without your voice in the equation, then you're leaving other people to create for you a solution that may not necessarily work for you. Imagine you want a dress and you're telling somebody, just make a dress for me. And they ask you, what color do you want? Or they don't even know what your taste is, your body shape, your size, what materials work for you, what you're allergic to. And you just trust and say, just make me a dress, I will wear it. Well, then you have to then be okay to wear that dress and stop complaining about the kind of dress that was made. If you really care about a dress being made for you that actually has your input, your taste, your needs taken care of, your requirements as part of the process, then get yourself to the table. A lot of people wait for themselves to be invited to the table. But I have news for you. That may not necessarily happen. Sometimes you've got to look for where that table is. Sometimes, and a lot of times, you've got to literally find a way to get into that table. Looking for the table is one thing, but finding your way into that table is another thing. Boldness and courage, women, is needed. And you don't have to wait for yourself to be perfect. You don't have to wait to have everything that is needed to be able to get onto that table. As long as you know you have value to add and you're willing to learn along the way, then I think we're in good hands, right? One of the things I learned and that gave me peace and confidence in the things I used to uptake was I said, okay, I need boldness and I need courage to do this thing. And perhaps I don't have everything that is needed to do that. However, if I carry a humble spirit that says that I do not know everything and I am willing to learn, then I give myself permission to be in that space, because what I don't know, I'm willing to learn. And I'm willing to learn from others who are in that space. The problem is sometimes we want to purport that we know it all, or we have it all, or we have it all figured out, or that we are fully qualified to do every single thing that thing or that role requires. Guess what? Then you're forever exiting yourself from that role, because there'll never be a time when you can fit in and fill all those boxes and check and say, I have them, I have them, I have them. Just be bold enough, have the courage enough, and the humility enough to know that you don't have to know or have everything, and you should be willing to learn. And it shouldn't just be a statement. I actually mean it when I say I am willing to learn, because then it puts me in a position when I can connect with others on the table. Okay? Because when you get into that table, what value are you offering? Women, always know that there is something inside of you. There is something inside of you that you can offer and give. There's always something this far you have come that you can contribute to your community, to your family, to your society, to your organization, to your institution. Don't second guess yourself. Suggest it, promote it, volunteer. When people say, can somebody pray for us? I always look in the room. Nobody even wants to do such a simple thing as prayer. They feel they'll be judged. Who will lead this committee? Most people are looking for somebody else to lead. The first way of getting yourself onto tables and platforms is to give of yourself. Don't always expect to be paid for everything that you're doing. Get yourself into the room. Get yourself onto the platform. Offer value. Sometimes you don't have an opportunity to prove what value you have. But when you volunteer and you get into spaces, people start to see your value. They start to experience your product. And that's when people are launching a product, they will give samples so that you can taste, you can see what that is like, and then you can put money to it. Let people start to taste your services, to see the value you offer. And just in a matter of time, you will see people will be willing to put money onto your product, onto your service. Okay? So as we are now, getting on with our 2 days conversations, as you're picking and everything, just change your posture, change your perspective, realign your mindset, and now sit on the table again and engage in these conversations in a way that you know that you're not just a receiver, you're not just a murmurer and a whiner, but you're also a contributor of great value. So my hope is that when we meet next, your life will have moved from the level that you are at today, significantly and tangibly, to another level that you never thought was possible before this session. All the best.